Hey guys, so we're back. I'm assuming that you guys did your homework and added your programs page, and everything is working fine. So that's a good deal. That's a good stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and now do it for you here. So make sure that what you did was correct. So I'm gonna close this stuff here so I don't get mixed up. Alright, close my partials. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it programs PHP, because that's what the page is called, and I specified that in the name here. I specified that in the header, all of that good stuff. Okay, so just to make sure that I'm not getting an error, I'm going to go ahead and refresh this now. And actually, you know what? I need to serve it. So let me open the index and serve project. Alright, let me close this one. I have a lot of pages here that I need to close. Alright, here we go. So I'm in the home page and the about page, and then I click the programs, and there you go, no errors. Okay, if you look down here in the output of what do you call my PHP server output inside of Visual Studio, it doesn't show any errors either. So that's good stuff. All right, so we know that it's empty because we have nothing in it, but it's showing an error, so we're good. So now this is as simple now as highlighting this. Actually, I'll use the about page so I don't get the showcase stuff that you saw. All right, and I'll all the way to the main right here, and I add it here, and then all the way here to the end. I'm excluding this section in the middle, and I copy that and I hit it here. Look how easy that was. And there it is. If I refresh it, you'll see that everything is in there, but obviously there's no content inside. And I did say, well, you know, you can always go in there and add a section that says hello programs to make sure it works, and there it is. Okay, so so that's pretty easy, and I'm sure you guys were able to figure it out, so good on you. So I'm gonna go ahead and add something in there just so we have something. So I'm gonna copy that and from my code and paste it in here. Go ahead and pause the video and make sure that you put all the stuff in there. You can use lorem ipsum again, like I said. Okay, and once you got that done, then you can add the rest in here all the way to the end of the section. Okay, I'm not gonna go over this because this is something that we already, you know, kind of addressed, and we already went over all of this, and this is all basically bootstrap and regular stuff from HTML that you can research on your own. So go ahead. Alright, so I'm gonna save it and refresh my page, and here we go. Now I have my about page working. Okay, and we have some new colors here showing up and all the good stuff here. This send button probably should have a little bit of space in between here. It's not a big deal. You can always you know, with this class here, go to the CSS here, find it, and add some space to it. So matter of fact, what is it? Button 1, I'm gonna copy, come over here, Control F is how you pick this up that I'm typing in here, and then it shows you where it is. It's right here, you know. And basically you can just you can put margin top and give it like 20 pixels, hit enter, and then when you refresh, there we go, margin top. Alright, so what are we going to talk about now is S Css. What is S Css? So as you can see here, this right here is our CSS file. This is how we create this styling. This is how you make things pretty, and you know, do a lot of margins and paddings and positioning of some items on the screen. This is how you pick these colors, you know, and make the colors, this margin between these two blocks and this padding inside the block or card, and a lot of the stuff to make things look pretty. CSS is important. If you didn't have a CSS, things will look, and I made a mention of this earlier in the videos, but if I didn't have CSS, so like if I pick this line here and I hit control / to comment it out and I saved it, so this is what it will look like without CSS. This is what the internet will look like. Pretty boring, right? Alright, so I'm gonna undo that and save it again, and here we go, we're back. Okay, so CSS is very important. Now, what is SCSS? SCSS, or Sass, as some people will call it also, because it was called Sass, SASS before, and then it went up to SCSS, and I believe Sass is still a thing, but to be honest, I've never really had to use with any Sass files in years, so I honestly don't know if Sass is still a different thing, and I don't care. I really don't. So I just use SCSS. Now SCSS, what it is it's a type of language that you use to create CSS. It's kind of like a formatting language, so to speak. It produces CSS, so it's a great tool. It's a great language because it allows you to create CSS files in a lot faster, more organized. It allows you to work with specificities and you know, a lot of other things, and then you can also choose to output it in a compressed way, or a minified way. So what happens when you minimize a file is that it renders a lot faster in the browser. So this is a very small website, so right now speed is not an issue here, but if this was a huge website with a lot of CSS, a CSS that looks like this, all exploded like that, it creates like a lot of code. So you can see now, look at this, 272 lines of code, and that's on something this simple. You should see some of the applications that I've built that had over 10,000 lines of code in CSS alone, and that's ridiculous. So you could, if you're gonna use CSS a lot for your styling, you can minify all that so it looks like a minified code in one line. And let me show you let me see, Minified Css Sample. Let me see if that shows me something. Actually, you know what? Minifier. Okay. So let's say I grabbed all of this that I have in here and I put it right here and I minify it, and here we go. So now all of this gets compiled into one single line. All of this, if I put this, if I grab over here and I come over here, Control A and V, and I put it in here, this is a minified line of code. Okay, but this is very hard to develop with, very hard to read. But will it work? Let's see. If I save it, of course, prettier. You know, that's all the compiling thing for me. So yeah, so never mind that. I can't show you because prettier is messing up with my tutorial here, trying to reformat it. But so let's go ahead and forget that part. All right, you know what? I'm gonna, while I'm here, yeah, I'm gonna take that out because I'm not using that. All right, let's save that. All right, so basically, how are we going to use a minified style CSS that we can use on the site instead of using the regular style CSS, this exploded CSS? Okay, we're gonna need Sass. All right, we're gonna need SCSS. So the first thing you're gonna need is you're gonna go online and you're gonna need to download a compiler. So you're gonna go to Koala CSS and this right here, Koala app. So you're gonna download your Koala app, depending on if it's Windows or Mac, they have it for both, and you're gonna go ahead and download it and have it running. and open it up on your computer. Once you have it running up on your computer, and I'll show you this, we're gonna start doing some stuff here, some changes, so that we can start using it. So I'm gonna come over here and find it in my computer, which I already have it uploaded, and this is what it looks like. Okay, and I'm gonna, before I do that, I'm gonna put this on the side. I have to do some arrangements in here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is in the CSS folder here, I'm going to click and open a file and name it the same exact way that mine was named, style style.scss. Now you see how the icon here is different. It has the Sass symbol, alright, and the hashtag symbol is for CSS. So now that I have the file created, actually before I do that, otherwise it's gonna empty my CSS. Before I do that, make sure you do this before you before you do anything here. Come here first, okay, to your Sass, to your CSS. Control A and copy, and then go to your Sass file and Control V and add it all in there. Okay, it's all good. Save it, and then you can close the CSS file. You don't need it for right now. Actually, you probably won't need it again. So now that you're here in the Sass, now you can come over here and add it. So you're gonna come to a plus sign and find your application, which this may take some time. Oh man, what was this? Alright, so I have it on here. Oh, that was easy. I have it here, and I click OK, and I add it, and there it is. It's starting to add the project to it. Okay, so that's in there. So in here now, you're gonna go ahead and remove the regular CSS, remove the main CSS, the main JS, keep this here, and this thing that you see down here is your output. So it's basically telling you this is what it's reading, the Sass file, and it's outputting it here. You're gonna click on it, and you're gonna make sure that it says auto compile. You can choose to have a source map if you want. If not, it's okay, it's not a big deal. But then the most important thing is here, you want it to say compressed. Okay, and then click compile. As soon as you hit compile, you can minimize this because it will work on the back end. Now if you look at the style CSS, look what it did. It minified it for you. Don't save, don't hit save, don't hit Control S, otherwise Prettier is going to format it. Just know that this is now being compacted in, and that is still what is being serviced on your header. So now when you go to your website and you read it through here, it will still all work. But if I inspect it and I go to my sources and I look into my CSS, I can see that all of my CSS is compacted in one line. See? So now this made my code on the browser a lot lighter. Alright, so using Sass is always a great idea. So this is development and this is production. Okay, alright, so we're not gonna need to work anymore on the style CSS because all the, let me say this, because all the work that we're going to do now on the CSS is going to be done on the Sass file. So one thing that we need to learn here, that we're now going to start working with CSS, is how to use CSS correctly. And I could go on and on and on and on and on this on Sass because there's a lot to cover. So I'm not gonna cover a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna cover just the very basic creation of a CSS with Sass. But there are many ways. There are many other ways to do a lot of things. Like you can create mixins, and a mixing is basically how you make a bunch of code in CSS into a small little tiny component, and then just use that component. So like if you're gonna have a button and all the buttons are gonna look the same all the time, you can create a button called a red button and then put all your CSS inside of that red button mixing, and then use that mixing every time you need a red button, so you don't have to retype all over again everything that goes inside that button as far as styles goes. But that will be for another tutorial for Sass, which I will eventually make one. But for right now, I'm just gonna touch the very basic, which is avoiding all these long strings right here in CSS. So, and with this, we're gonna work with indentation. Something that you cannot do in CSS, but you can do in Sass, is use indentation of code, nesting your code inside your code to create this long string right here. So, starting from here, from the custom navbar, which is your first one, there's a space here, right? So if there's a space here, then you can just basically grab the next one, hit enter, and put it in there, and create an opening and close tag. Then the next one is going to be a UL. There's also a space between them, so you're just going to put it on inside it. And then the next one is an LI, a list item. But this one has a nav item that is stuck to it. You see there's no space here, no space between the LI and the nav item. Just like there is space here, there is no space here. Whenever there is no space there, then you gotta add the nav item, but you're gonna put an ampersand in front of it. This ampersand is saying that this nav item is stuck to the LI. It's together right here to the LI, and that has there isn't drawing a blank. There isn't a point to that. Okay, there is a reason why that LI and nav item are together, and I will explain that again on another CSS code tutorial, to what the difference is between a separation between this cascading line and this not having a separation. But I don't want to extend this tutorial more than it should, so just know that if your initial CSS has it cascaded together, then you need this, okay, to stick them together. Sass will read this and send it to CSS and make it together. It will ignore this. It will take this off and it will display like this. It will compile it like that. Alright, so open that, and then I have the active, which is also stuck. So I'm gonna click that, put it in here, put the ampersand. Ooh, I forgot the E, active, and do that. And now we have the A. Here we have a space. So that's all we need. No ampersand because there is a space, and then the nav link has a space. So I'm gonna need this, and then that, and then I close it, and I got to the end of it. So now I can grab the code and put it in here, and I can format this, even though Prettier is gonna do it for me, but I can do that. And now there's one thing I like to do is I don't like to delete it. When I do this, I don't like to delete it right away. I like to hit Control / and comment it, because if I made a mistake here, I can always, get it back. So I'm gonna hit S, and you should see a green, there we go, right here, the success. That means it compiled. So if I come over here and I refresh, I can see that nothing changed in my navigation. Everything is fine. And this was for the active, for this red home thing. Okay, so now we're gonna go on to the next one. So now that I know that that's working, I can delete it. So I go on to the next one. The next one is pretty close to this one. So it reads the custom navbar, nav collapse, UL, LI, nav item, and it doesn't have the active. It jumps from nav item to the A. So basically, let me minimize this. It's skipping this active because it means that whatever is in here is only when it's active, but this is without. Okay, so I'm gonna get this active here. I mean, not active. I'm gonna get this hyperlink here, and I'm gonna put it in here. So now it reads exactly like this, from nav item to A to nav link. And I'm gonna grab this, copy it, and replace it here. and tab, and then I'm gonna comment that out and save, and then compile fine. Let me show you what happens when things don't compile fine. What can I do to break this? Let's say I do this and I hit enter. Here we go, you get an error. There's something, you know, it was expecting a bracket instead of that, blah blah blah, all that stuff. So if you get an error, it will tell you. So I'm gonna put that back and compile it. There we go. So this right here is for the regular nav links, which are white, these, and then this one is when it's active, it will show red. So if I, there we go, nothing changed, perfect. So now I can delete it. And I know this seems like a very slow process, but this is only because we created the CSS beforehand. If you were creating Sass from the beginning, you know, you wouldn't have to do all this conversion that I'm doing, and then everything will be a lot faster. But the CSS will be converted for you. Alright, so here is again the same thing, custom navbar right here, navbar collapse right here, ul, li, and nav item together, so is that, and then we have a break here between the nav item and the A that has a hover. It's pretty similar to this one that had the active. So I'm going to make sure that I pick the right one here. So I want to cover this here, and I'm gonna put it here, but this one is hover with this, a pseudo element. It's a pseudo element, so I'm gonna make sure that I pick that column and I put it in here. There we go, and everything else is the same after the hover, A and navlink. But I'm going to get this gray color. Basically what that is this gray. See how it turns gray when I hover? So you have three different styles. When it's white, when it's not hovered, when it's natural, it's white. When it's active, it's red, and when it's hover, it's gray. So I'm gonna pick this up and I'm gonna put it inside the hover. And there you go. And comment this, control backslash, save. Success, that's good. And nothing changed, everything is perfect. So you see, now I can delete it. So everything is working perfect, and the greatest thing about this is that whenever you're done with the navbar and you don't need to work on the navbar anymore, but you're still working on CSS, you can always collapse it and get it out of your way. I believe we're not using these anymore, or this one, so you can always remove that. We are using this h1 tag for the custom navbar, which is probably in here somewhere, so you can always bring that up and put it inside your navbar. So you can go ahead and create this navbar collapse. Since the h1 is directly inside underneath navbar, you can just copy this and you can put it here if you want to. Put it there. Minimize this. Comment this. We're not using this, so I can comment this as well instead of deleting it first to make sure that it's not working. That it's not needed, and that's fine. And then nothing changed. Everything is fine. So everything is working fine. So you can continue to do this for everything. There are some classes that don't have any specificity. This is called specificity. When you cascade different classes together, it's called specificity. That means that you're specifying a specific set of instructions on your CSS for those classes structure of cascading specifically. So when you don't have a specific specificity defined, but you just have one single class with whatever, then this is just a regular utility class. So you don't have to do anything to these. You can just leave those alone. Don't mess with them, because they work globally everywhere you use a dark. This one are not global. These one are specific for this purpose. So this right here will only work when the custom navbar has a highlight class inside it, and that's what specificity really means. So if you wanted to, and that's what I'm going to tell you to do on your homework, is try to convert a lot of all this stuff. I'm just going to delete this, get it out of the way since I already tested it. So and save it. Okay. For your homework, grab all this stuff and add them inside your custom navbar and try to combine, you know, your showcases together into, you know, and I'm sure you're gonna break a lot of stuff, but that's no big deal, because you can always you know, since you're basically commenting it before you delete it, you can always uncomment it, and then, you know, we'll go over it a little more. When you have this comma here, that's another thing I'm going to touch, because I know you're going to run into this. When you have this comma here, that means that two specificity conditions are using the exact same styles. They're being shared for both the highlight and the current A. So when you have something like this, this comma can also be shared in here. So we know it's inside the custom navbar, right? So I put it in the bottom over here, and there is a space. So I'm going to put the highlight there, and then I'm going to use a comma and use the current A. And then I'm going to bring this in there, and that will work. Okay, so instead of, I'm basically eliminating this custom navbar and then just putting these two together separated by a comma. This is the same thing as saying custom navbar highlight and custom navbar current A, and this is going to be shared across those two specificities. So I know you're probably going to run into that issue, and so if you do, now you know that you could do this comma thing, and it will still it won't break your stuff. Okay, just make sure that you add them in the right order. Make sure that you're respecting the space. Make sure that you're respecting this togetherness, and make sure that you pay attention to this semicolon. Whenever you see a hover or focus, you gotta make sure that you're using this column, because that column is how it has a specific meaning to it. So don't get confused with those. Make sure that you're not mixing parent classes. So like, just to finish this custom navbar, and then you can do the showcase. Right here we got custom navbar, and just minimize this, custom navbar, and then UL directly under. It doesn't say navbar collapse. You see that? So because there's a skip in there, I'm gonna respect that skip. I'm not just gonna add it into this UL because there's a navbar collapse in there in the middle. I want to respect that. That was a specific specificity that was created for the style to work the way it does. So, and I don't want to corrupt that, so I want to add it exactly the same way it was written. And now that's together, so I'm gonna put that in there, and that's separate, and that's together. So I'm gonna put that, and I'm gonna put the hover in there, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna bring that. I'm just gonna drag it, put it in there. I know it's gonna work, so I'm just gonna drag it and delete this. There we go. And hit save. Should compile. Yep, there you go. Everything's fine. Yep. See? Alright. Alright, so now you guys can do the rest. Alright, see you in the next one.